everyone, and welcome back to another episode of What the Flight Radio, a podcast for Inflight Crew, frequent flyers, and anyone that gives a about aviation and travel. Oh, you guys, I hope you're all having an amazing Wednesday since this one is coming out a little late today. If you're new here, my name is Jess. I am a flight attendant for a major U.S. airline. And on this podcast, we talk about flight attendant lifestyle, solo travel, festival culture, flying tips, and anything that bridges the gap between my career and my hobbies. I really hope, like I said, that you're having a wonderful week so far and a wonderful Wednesday. If you're into anything that I just mentioned, I would really love for you to stay connected with me, especially if it's your first time tuning into the show. I just want to say thank you for being here, and I would love to connect with you. I will have my social links in the show notes below. You can find me at WT Flight Radio or at Living by the .f word on most accounts. So if you're watching on YouTube, you're noticing I'm putting my hands up. For anyone that's just listening, you can't see anything that I'm doing, but yeah, you'll notice that this is the first pod that I've taken on the road with me. I am not at home right now, so for anyone that isn't tuning into YouTube and can't see that, I am coming to you live from San Antonio, Texas. Today I flew from New York City to Orlando, over to Houston, and then to San Antonio. And now I'm recording and editing and trying to get this very delayed What the Flight Wednesday episode up. Anyway, I really do hope that you're all doing well. And thanks so much for checking out the show once again. If you're a returning listener, I love you guys so much. So thank you. Anyways, just some few updates. I have been keeping busy as usual. Last week, I had a nice little 2-day. I'm also on a 2-day trip right now, but I had a nice little 2-day, and it actually wasn't so little. It was a high time 2-day. And yeah, it was the start of the August bid month for me, and I'm flying all 2-day trips this month. I had a great crew, which always makes the trip much, much better. I've been having some really great crews lately. I know I've been saying that for anyone that's not a flight attendant. If you're wondering, like, well, what's not a great crew? Sometimes you do. Sometimes you just, I don't know. Sometimes you get those off moments, you know what I mean? Or you get a crew member you're working with that is just off, like they're having a bad day or whatever it may be. Yeah, sometimes you just don't have a good crew, and it really makes the world of a difference. Trust me. Anyways, I'm going off on a tangent. This is why it's so important that I script these podcasts, because otherwise I would just like be all over the place. I feel like if I didn't like keep myself to a script. So if you are watching on YouTube, you see me looking over to the side. That is what I am doing most of the time. I just like need to keep myself in line. Otherwise, we will be here for fucking ever. Anyway, I got back from that 2-day trip last week on Friday evening, and pretty close to midnight, I would say. I know I got home after midnight or like sometime kind of late. And then the following day, I went to Hoboken with my family. So I am from New Jersey, if you're new here. And so Hoboken is a really beautiful city that is on the Hudson River, where you could see Manhattan. It's absolutely gorgeous and really fun city where you can go out to a lot of restaurants and bars. So I went there with my family for my aunt's late birthday party, if you will. And yeah, we had a nice little brunch. It was beautiful. It was right on the water, really gorgeous view in New York City. They were bumping some house tunes, so I was like all for it. I was loving it. The weather was perfect. Really had some nice weather in Jersey lately over the weekend, and I'm just really glad that we all got to enjoy it and go out together. It was a really nice time. And the last couple days after that happened, I worked a little bit behind the scenes. So with Instagram, which I kind of have been slacking on, and it's not even like I'm slacking on it. It's just that I don't really feel like I have the time for all the promo and to keep up, you guys. Like, I just feel like keeping track of my Living by the F Word account and the What the Flight Radio account on Instagram and on YouTube and flying and all that. It's just like so much to manage, And so it's not even that I'm slacking. It's just that I feel like I don't have time. And like, it's not like even one of those things, like we make time for the things that matter to us, right? So obviously this matters to me, and all my content matters to me, and my family matters to me, my home life matters to me, and getting things done around my house matters to me. Like everything matters to me, but there's just only so much time you have in the day when you're running multiple businesses, I guess you can call it. I basically have like 3 full-time jobs, if that makes sense. But once again, going off on a tangent here. Oh boy, is it going to be one of those episodes? I don't know, you guys. I don't know if it's because I'm nervous. I don't know if it's because I'm like deliriously tired. I don't know if it's because I'm on my second beer right now. I really don't know. But I am like going way off skew here. But anyway, yeah, if you are one of my listeners that watches on YouTube, and you'll notice that those episodes aren't really going up on time. They're kind of going up late because I've been at least getting the podcast out on Wednesdays on time. I have not slipped up on that yet. And even today, it is Wednesday and I'm recording, going to edit and get this shit up on Wednesday. You know what I mean? But I have not slipped up on actually having the podcast released on Wednesdays, but right now this is like the latest that I've ever had it go up. And Wednesdays I feel like I've had not like a lot of the video up because I'm trying to sync up the audio to the video, and like they're just going up late because like, yeah, that's just like how busy I feel. Send help, you guys. Send help. I have a little here. I'm gonna wave my cocktail napkin on YouTube. I surrender. Oh my God. Anyway, yeah, I need some help. Some people have suggested that I hire a video editor for YouTube or even for this podcast, hire an editor, but I'm kind of like at the point of I'm not profiting from this, and I don't care. Like, that's not why I'm doing it, but I just feel like a lot of people that hire editors are actually like, making money off of content creating, and I am not right now. And so to hire an editor, I just feel like is like a little excessive, but I'm not gonna lie, like I'm really toying with the idea because it's a lot of work, you guys. I just want a social media manager, like straight up. That's all I really care about. I just want someone to do all my Instagram, Facebook, Twitter shit, because that to me is like the most amount of work. All right, so back to Instagram. Oh my God, you guys, this episode is probably gonna be a shit show just because like I'm out of like my norm here. I'm like not at home, and like I just like am feeling like, wow, it's been such a long day already. Now I have to record, and I'm making my day even longer by doing this. But yeah, back to Instagram. I basically was setting up some graphics for the highlights on my Instagram account. So if you follow me at WT Flight Radio, you will finally be able to see some highlights that I set up. So that's kind of what I was doing the last couple of days. And yeah, that's been on my to-do list for a while. So I'm really glad I got that done. And I was also working on some promoting like podcast clips and things like that. And yeah, I think I like am just like taking too long on things. Like I just on top of things just taking too long, like I've been having major computer issues. And so there's a lot of programs that are lagging, and there's a lot of programs that are crashing. And especially during exporting the YouTube videos for the podcast and even my YouTube channel, I'm just having like major problems. Like the past 2 videos I've been trying to export, they've been exporting for hours and hours and hours. Even if I change my setting to like some shitty export setting, hours, and then like right before it's supposed to export, it crashes. And so that's kind of what I've been dealing with. So like in addition to just like not having enough time for everything. Whew, yeah. So I basically need to get a new computer, which I plan on doing after this trip. Once I get back from this trip this weekend, I plan on going to buy a new iMac. I just want a desktop that's going to be more efficient so that I could work on these projects with ease and get things done stress-free. You know what I'm saying? yeah, I think that's going to be really helpful. But it also kind of brings me to my next point of I'm kind of toying with the idea of making this podcast bi-weekly. And that's because I'm not really sure I'm even going to be able to get an episode out next week because, of course, I just said I'm going to go buy a new computer, and we all know how that process goes. Kind of have to set up a new device, and it's kind of busy and a whole process and yada yada. But in addition to that, like, I'm just so behind on my YouTube content, and there's a lot of stuff I want to get out on my YouTube channel as far as fall festival content, which it's really hard to believe that it's like we're approaching mid-August here, and less than a month I'm going to be going to my first festival back, which is going to be Elements Lakewood. I'm so stoked for that. That's a festival in Pennsylvania, and it's going to be my first festival back since March 2020, which the last festival I went to was Crossed in San Diego. So I just feel like there's so much content ideas I have that I've been behind on that I wanted out earlier because it would be relevant content. And I feel like if I don't work on that, it's going to be kind of like irrelevant and unsearchable, if you know what I mean. So yeah, just a heads up, might not be an episode next week. Might be switching to bi-weekly episodes just for now. I don't really know. I really don't want to do that. Like, part of me like cringes, like even saying that, like, but I do feel like it's just like so much for me to manage right now, you know. Even if you think about the day I had today, I had basically like an 11-hour day, and that's just from my check-in time. So that doesn't count the time I got ready and drove to the airport and got through security and then got to my gate and started my check-in time. And then after that, it doesn't count the whole leaving the airport, getting on the shuttle to the airport, and getting to my hotel room. You know what I mean? So just really long days that I'm working and doing all this on the side. And yeah, not trying to make excuses or anything. I'm just trying to like explain to you, especially if you're not flight crew, so you have like kind of like an understanding of like what our days are like. I definitely need to have separate episodes about what our days are like, what our day-to-day is like, what the job is like, all that. And I do have a whole like list going on of episode ideas. So it's not like I don't have enough content to do it every week. It's just like more so finding the time to do everything. And I think bi-weekly might just be like a little more manageable, you know? Okay, so just throwing that out there that I might skip next week, but I want to push another episode for next week, but you know, just a lot of adjusting with this. So yeah, thank you so much for your support. That was another ramble. Note to self, maybe don't drink beer right before you're about to podcast, because this is how it's going. All right, we're moving on to today's episode, which is something I was actually debating on for today's episode, and for several reasons. So the first reason is the date of this recording, the day that I am recording this, and the release of this episode is August 11th. And also it is episode 11. Episode 11 of this podcast, you guys. That's crazy. So we got that 1111, all the ones, the angel number energy going on for this episode. You know what I mean? And for anyone that doesn't know, I'm very much into astrology. I'm very much into tarot cards. I'm very much into numerology, angel numbers, all of it. I find it extremely fascinating. I just have been studying the tarot for over 3 years now. It's one of my favorite hobbies. I have a whole video on my YouTube channel, Living by the F Word, talking about how I got into tarot cards. And I also have a whole series where I do unboxings of my cards. So I'm very much into it. And so in case you don't know about numerology, the number 1 is a really powerful number. It represents new beginnings, clarity, action, focus, drive, and willpower. And the Magician, which is card 1 of the major arcana within the tarot, which are basically like the major cards. There's 22 of them, and they go from 0 to 21. So 0, obviously, it counts as a card, so that's how you get the 22. But anyway, not going to go off on a tarot tangent here, but the Magician basically is like one of my favorite cards ever. I love it so much. And like, that's just because it's a card about manifestation and about being in control of your life. And it just like kind of is one of those cards of like, you have the power to do everything that you want to do. And you have the power of all the different suits and all the different elements. And like, you're a magician, you know what I mean? Like, you got this, you know? And so I just love that this episode is on the 11th and it's the 11th episode. And so I was just like, oh my God, it's like number one energy. And so my original idea was to have last week's episode, which was with my first ever guest. Shout out Anita Bass from Awake Tours for coming on the show. I love you so much. But my idea was to basically have like all this like one energy, like first guest, August 11th, episode 11. Like, I was just so fucking stoked for it. And it just like didn't work out because I didn't have another episode scripted, even though I have like a whole list of ideas for episodes. And even though I have a whole list of people I want to bring on the show as guests, it just didn't work out that way. And so I put the episode with Anita out last week as episode 10. And so I don't know. I just feel like I was like, man, so like, what am I going to talk about now for this episode? And I kind of was like overthinking things like, is the topic I'm about to talk about, does that really align with that energy? Because I don't know, you guys, this topic that we're about to talk about, it could cause some serious turbulence for some people. You know what I mean? Like, we might be entering an area of turbulence, maybe moderate turbulence, if you know what I mean, talking about today's topic. I hope not. It's really just one of those episodes where I just want to give like some general information about what's going on regarding this topic. But yeah, it just is kind of one of those other reasons why I was thinking about going bi-weekly, because had I gone bi-weekly, had I skipped last week and not put the episode out with Anita, it would have came out this week. I would have had all that like one energy going on, first guest, all that, everything that I just said. But anyway, I'm like completely overthinking, and I'm sure a lot of you listening are like, what the fuck? Who cares? Just bitch, who really cares? Just whatever, get to the point. All right. So with that being said, I have one more announcement, Aviation Lingo, and then we're going to get to the point. So my last announcement is, if you are tuning in and it is before Friday the 13th, I am doing Truth or Drink with Emma Capotis, Vibe with Aid, and Ace from the Beat Stop TV on Instagram Live on Friday the 13th, which is this upcoming Friday. So I just wanted to put that announcement out there. If anyone is tuning in, if you don't know who those people are, they are amazing content creators within the music festival space and some of my friends. And Emma Capotis and Vibe with Aid, they have a Truth or Drink series on their Instagram accounts where they basically have their followers ask them questions, and it could be juicy questions. It could be questions about like whatever you really want. But if they don't want to answer honestly, they have to drink. And lately, over the past couple months, they've been asking guests to come on. And so this Friday, I'm going to be one of those guests, and I absolutely cannot wait. You guys should definitely check it out. It's going to be on Vibe with Aid's Instagram. So she's at Vibe with Aid on Instagram. And also just shout out Emma Capotis, who I worked with, and she really is the reason why we are all here for this podcast. She really helped me get this podcast going. I had the idea, I had the branding, I had everything. It just wasn't getting done. It was just kind of one of those things like sitting there. It was there, just like, you know, hanging out. And she really kind of helped me take baby steps to really get here. So shout out to them. And then also Ace, of course, from the Beat Stop TV, another amazing festival content creator and actually works within the festival space. So yeah, we're going to be doing Truth or Drink. So that's the announcement. I really hope to see you there. It's 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or 5 p.m. Pacific, or obviously if you're Mountain, it's 4 p.m. and whatever Central, it's going to be what? Now I'm getting all the times mixed up. Whatever. Doesn't matter. It's 8 p.m. Eastern. You do the math, considering where you're from, and tune in. It's going to be so much fun. And I hope to see you there. All right. Let's, of course, get into aviation lingo before we take flight into this episode. This week's aviation lingo is slam clicker. I have to chuckle after that because I feel like anyone that is not in the aviation industry and tunes in and really actually learns from this, I feel like this was one of my favorite terms that I learned when I was a brand new flight attendant. And yeah, slam clicker. So, like I said, this is one of my favorite aviation lingos. And because I remember when I was new, like I had never, ever heard of this in my life. So I was like, what is that? Like, what does that even mean? So a slam clicker is a flight attendant or a pilot that doesn't go out on their layover. And they basically just stay in their hotel room. They slam the door and then they click the lock. Hence slam clicker. And there really are people that are permanent slam clickers with this career, believe it or not. There's some flight crew that have been doing this job for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, even sometimes 50 years. Believe it or not, there are flight attendants out there that have been flying for 50 years and they just come to work and they slam click because they don't want to go out. They just want to chill. They want to rest. They want to watch TV or do whatever they want to do. And so currently I am on a layover. For anyone watching on YouTube. Like I said before, you could see that. Or for anyone that's just listening, I am on a layover in my hotel room. And I am basically, I'm slam clicking right now. And so that's why I chose that as this week's Aviation Lingo. I typically do not slam click. I am not a slam clicker. I basically always usually love to do something on the layover if I have a chance. It's part of the reason why I got this job. We'll see how it goes in the next few years. I mean, of course, there's always some layovers where you just want to chill and sleep if it's short enough, but you get the point. I don't do this often, so pretty rare for me, and I just thought that this would be a great term for you guys to learn. And yeah, that's it. It's wheels up time. Let's take flight into this episode. Okay, so welcome to episode 11. Not really sure where I was going with this one, but I just feel like this topic was super relevant, especially over the last week or so. And I just think that as people who love to travel, we're going to be facing situations like this in the future. And I don't know. I just think that talking about employers that are mandating vaccinations is kind of an important topic to discuss because it's a current topic right now in this industry. And not even just this industry, just like in the world in general. And so, that's kind of why I just wanted to bring it up. And in this episode, I'm really just going to be discussing things that you may already know regarding some of these events that took place within the last week within aviation and within the United States regarding mandated vaccinations. And really the reason why I wanted to talk about it is because originally I had it as like one of my bullet points for my aviation news segment, but then I kind of quickly realized that, okay, we can actually do a full episode on this. And so, here we are. So before we even get into it, I will say, as I've said before, I am fully vaccinated. I've been fully vaccinated since April. I was happy to get vaccinated. I'm happy to help society get back to where we all want to be, which is maskless and having herd immunity. And it's really not that simple when there's still people that don't want to get vaccinated, whatever their reason may be. Whether that the vaccine was rushed and it's not really fully approved, or maybe they have a health condition, or, whatever. And I'm only saying whatever, the word whatever, because unfortunately there are some really bizarre behaviors coming out of this as far as that whatever part. Like, I don't know, there's just some strange things going on as to why people don't want to be vaccinated. And I could relate to a certain extent because I usually don't get vaccines. Like if it's for the flu or any other thing, I typically don't. But I just feel like with COVID, this has affected the human race. And it is still affecting the human race. And like, honestly, I just want to keep my job. Like, I do not want to go through another furlough. I don't want to be dealing with things being shut down. I'm happy things are opening again. I just want festivals and my life and my travel life back to normal as it ever can be after all this, which is probably not going to be the case because, this was difficult for all of us, no matter which way you look at it. I just went off on a tangent again, you guys. Really important that I follow this script. But yeah, it's really clear that people have strong opinions about this topic, clearly because it has affected all of us as the human race in so many different ways. It's affected everyone, like, depending on, if you had family that has passed away from this, depending on if you were affected by COVID in some way, or, even if you don't believe in COVID. I know there's a lot of people out there that don't believe in COVID. It still has affected everyone, obviously, because it has changed lives. All of our lives were very much changed by this. So I really just kind of wanted to discuss it, not to press opinions on anyone, not to start any issues with anyone. I'm not trying to, say if you're not vaccinated, go get vaccinated. Like, I'm definitely not trying to be that person, although I do feel like it would help immensely if more people got vaccinated. But, I'm not here to tell people what to do because I know that I wouldn't want people telling me what to do. There's a lot of things in this world that people don't agree on. And I don't want to be one of those people like, telling people what to do. So I just want to kind of dive into some key points of what has been going on in the United States regarding vaccines. All right, so many vaccines are going to expire. First of all, lots and lots of vaccines are going to expire because people don't want to be vaccinated in the United States. So there's actually currently a surplus of doses that are going to expire if they are not getting used. So that's like kind of like one major thing that's going on, which is really interesting because there's so many other countries that would love to have vaccines. All right. Sorry if you heard that. I'm drinking a beer, so I just took a gulp and I'm going to take another. Okay. Number 2 is this Delta variant, which is a concern. And there's a lot of breakthrough cases that are happening. I have here, ultimately, breakthrough cases in fully vaccinated people have served as extra motivation for employers to take a stronger stand on vaccination. Also, the president of the United States, Joe Biden, said if another 100 million Americans would get vaccinated, we'd be in a very different world. The whole point of me having this episode was because of certain airlines that were announcing mandatory vaccinations this week. United was the first major airline to require employees to be vaccinated. With that, basically following right up after that was Frontier. Frontier Airlines announced that they would require employees to be vaccinated as well. Delta Airlines, as of now, is only requiring new hires to be vaccinated. So they're not going to mandate it on current employees. And I believe for American as well, there's like no mandated vaccinations. This just is kind of like the tip of the iceberg, I feel like, you guys, because there's a growing list of companies that are now requiring employees to be vaccinated due to the report of COVID-19 surges. So the companies that are currently requiring mandatory vaccinations for their employees are companies like Walmart, Facebook, Cisco, Tyson Foods, Walt Disney Company, Walgreens, and there's a lot more. Those are just kind of like some major companies I feel like people would recognize. And if companies aren't requiring employees to get vaccinated, they are requiring, or not requiring, but they are offering incentive, basically. So there's companies out there that are basically at first they were offering incentives to people, like trying to really entice them to go get vaccinated. Like, we're going to pay you bonuses. We're going to, give you paid time off if you go get vaccinated. So there were a lot of companies doing this, including Uber, I think, and just a bunch of big companies out there that were basically like giving free money away to go get vaccinated. But I think what happened was that didn't work because so many people have such strong beliefs about this virus and about the vaccination and, whatever they're putting into their bodies and things like that. People are very skeptical of this and they don't want to rush it. And so that's just how some people feel. And so I completely understand that. And so with that, though, I think that's what started driving more and more companies to mandate vaccinations. So currently, 70% of Americans that have received at least one dose of the vaccine, and half of the population is now fully vaccinated. There are still millions of Americans who have yet to get their shots, and that's because of the uptick in cases. Many companies are starting to require workers to get vaccinated for COVID-19 as a condition of employment. I kind of think I merged two sentences there that I didn't mean to. So there's a bunch of Americans who have not got the shot, and it's not because of the uptick in cases. I kind of merged those sentences by mistakes. Basically, what I was trying to say is there's still lots of Americans that are not vaccinated, but because of the uptick in cases, because of so many Americans not being vaccinated, there's a lot of companies that are making it a condition of employment. Whew, there we go. Clarified that, you guys, because that kind of came out all messed up. All right, next point was President Joe Biden announced that he is requiring all government employees to be vaccinated, and many major cities are following suit as well. So basically, if you have a government job, you have to be vaccinated. Also, the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, they were the first major federal agency to require healthcare workers to get vaccinated. You're also going to be seeing many hospitals, nursing homes, colleges, and universities that are also getting mandates to get vaccinated. So this is like the big question here. And this is kind of what I was curious about because I kind of just felt like, wow, this might cause a lot of lawsuits, right? Wrong. So the question is, can employers require a coronavirus vaccine? And the answer to that is yes. Private companies and government agencies can require their employees to get vaccinated as a condition of working there. Individuals retain the right to refuse, but they have no right to legal protection if they choose, which is kind of crazy. This is kind of why I feel like this honestly should be some type of listener submission episode, because I would really love to hear what some people think about this and not just me rambling about what's kind of going on. You know what I mean? I think this is such an interesting topic, but it's also one of those topics I'm kind of tiptoeing around because I just it's sensitive information. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. It's just a little crazy for some people, All right. Anyway, let's move on to the next kind of question people may have, which is which workers are exempt from employer vaccination mandates? So workers that have religious beliefs that may conflict with their employer's vaccination requirement can request an exemption. An employer must accept a statement about their religious beliefs and accommodate the employee according to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. If an employer cannot accommodate the worker, the employer may allow the worker to perform their job duties away from the workspace, but cannot automatically terminate the employee. So, for example, a reasonable accommodation would be to allow the unvaccinated employee to work at a social distance from other workers, telework, work from home, or get periodic tests for COVID-19, which obviously in the setting of an aircraft or an airport is extremely hard to do, which is why I think you're going to see more and more airlines start mandating vaccines. Super interesting. Also, other people that are exempt are workers that have medical reasons for not wanting to get vaccinated. Also, employee will not have much recourse in order to stop the employer from mandating a vaccination policy for the good of the employer's workplace, which this is how many companies feel, especially these mega corporations. They think that this is better for the workplace because they went through all of this turmoil when it comes to, loss of money and losing employees and furloughs and all that. And they don't want to go back to that place. So they are seeing that vaccination is a way for them to basically stay afloat, I think. So, there was an article that recommended that you seek your human resources department to determine any exemption qualifications if you are like one of those people that is not wanting to get vaccinated and you work for one of these mega companies. All right, so what are the options for employees if they don't want to take the vaccine? Most employers, are trying to entice their employees with bonuses, paid time off, or other rewards, which is what I just mentioned. And also, most employers are likely to give workers some options if they don't want to take the vaccine and have soft mandates. So, soft mandates, I feel like, would work maybe for some other companies, like, where they would work with the employee to accommodate them and maybe just require a negative COVID test, similar to what certain countries are doing with entry requirements. As far as people entering the country, you need to have a negative COVID test within 72 hours. Something like that, like, I think would be like a soft mandate, but it's kind of like impossible if you are actually constantly traveling as a flight attendant or a pilot for a career. So, yeah, I just feel like I wanted to kind of bring this to light for anyone that's not in the aviation industry, but for those of you that are tuning in that are my peers or are from a different workforce within aviation, I'm kind of interested in what you have to say about this. I would love to hear from you. You can either leave me a comment on my YouTube channel, which is at What the Flight Radio, or you can email me at radio@livingbythefword.com. Just kind of wanted to talk about it a little bit. Nothing scripted here, just kind of like talking about everything we've gone through because of this awful disease. I just feel like, man, like, it's hard to believe that this is a disease that is called COVID-19 because it started in 2019 and we are now approaching mid-August of 2021 and still dealing with this. And I just thought, like, in this lifetime with all the technology and everything that we have, I didn't really ever think I would face something this drastic, if that makes sense. Like, I just felt like, okay, we have all this technology and like we have all the amazing smart scientists and people and everything. And like, we're going to bounce back and be back like instantly, and like that did not happen. And I think a lot of us are just realizing that that's not happening and that this is kind of here to stay. And I think that's where a lot of these bigger corporations are coming from. Like I said, I just don't think that they want to deal with like such massive losses again. And especially in the airline industry, like I've been talking about in past episodes, things are really picking back up. I mean, every single plane that I fly is full. And so they just want to have the employees be protected because this is something we're still dealing with. Now, coming from a standpoint, I know I have tons of friends out there that also do not want to get vaccinated. I know plenty of people that do not want to get vaccinated. And so, I just feel like that's like their right. It's like, I think I saw somewhere, and like this really is not comparable in my opinion. So I'm not trying to like offend anyone at all. But I know someone said something like, my body, my choice, which is something that is often said when it comes to women's rights and abortion, where there's a lot of these government agencies that are trying to control women's body and say that you cannot get a legal abortion in certain states within the United States, which is literally absolutely insane to me. And so like just coming from a standpoint of with that situation not being told what to do, which obviously is completely different because I feel like COVID affects everyone, like the entire world, whereas like that affects an individual. So like like I said, like I'm not trying to step on anyone's toes here at all. It's just like I remember reading like someone's tweet or something saying my body, my choice. And it was kind of like as like they don't want to put the vaccine in them. And it's kind of like, I don't know about that. But at the same time, yeah, like if you are one of those people that doesn't want to get vaccinated, it's like, yeah, you don't want to be forced by your company or government or whatever you think. It's just like, it's a really touchy situation, you guys. Like it really, really is. And so, yeah, feel free to reach out to me. I just kind of wanted to discuss it a little bit. And I'm just gonna cut it there because like I don't really know what else like I wanted to get out of this episode besides the fact that I felt like just talking about it as an aviation news segment would have been way too long. And so like I kind of just wanted to make it like, you know, a podcast episode. So let me know what you think. Of course, feel free to DM me at WT Flight Radio, and I will be right back with some aviation news. We are back for our aviation news segment. So first up, I have Air Transat. I hope I said that right. Oh my God. Which is a commercial airline based in Canada. They returned with their first commercial flight within 6 months. So first commercial flight in 6 months. They haven't flown in 6 months. So that's pretty good in my opinion. I thought that was some good news to start out on because Canada has pretty much been on like mega lockdown. So welcome back to the skies, you guys. Also, speaking of Canada, as of August 9th, fully vaccinated U.S. citizens and permanent residents can enter Canada for non-essential purposes like tourism. So this is another big step for Canada. Now, here are the entry requirements, which kind of just like cracks me up because it's like, oh, Canada, how typical of you. It's so hard to get into your country sometimes. But yeah, basically, these are the requirements. You can enter Canada if you are a fully vaccinated traveler and you have received the full series of a vaccine, a combination of vaccines within the last 14 days prior to entering Canada. Only acceptable vaccines are Pfizer, Moderna, AstraZeneca, J&J, or the Johnson & Johnson, and the traveler must be residing in and traveling from the U.S. and must have a valid pre-arrival COVID test, molecular test. Did I say that right? Sorry. Once again, very tired and drinking a beer. Sorry. You also must be asymptomatic. You must submit mandatory information via the Arrive CAN, including proof of vaccination in English or French. You must be admissible under the Immigration and Refugee Protection Act. That's a big one that a lot of people don't realize, that you cannot enter Canada if you have a DUI on your record, if you have any type of charge, even if it was like a misdemeanor charge or some type of smaller charge like shoplifting, you have to basically get entry requirements to enter there. Honestly, I should do an episode on that. I know a lot of people that have dealt with that before. So I just think it would be like an interesting topic to talk about as far as Canada entry rights, because it's like very complicated, you guys. Like, Canada is just a very interesting country when it comes to their entry requirements. Okay. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent again. Here we go. As far as other requirements, you must be asymptomatic. You must, I think I said that already. You must take a test upon arrival if required. Okay. Literally, that was like so fucking long. Like, come on, Canada. Like, shit, man. I mean, literally, that was so much that you have to do if you want to go like travel there for tourism. So good luck, you guys. Have fun. All right. Up next, we have American Airlines pilot tells a very personal story to passengers, making them very uncomfortable. Yeah, this was like all over the internet, everywhere. It was a very bizarre video of a American Airlines pilot discussing, I believe, I couldn't even watch the whole thing, but I believe he was on the loudspeaker basically talking about his religious views and how he got there, and it was all because of his sexual tendencies, and it was just very personal story, and I think people got very uncomfortable, and it's even uncomfortable for me to like kind of talk about it. And so yeah, it was just, I don't know, go look it up if you're interested. Up next, we have the European Union is expected to remove the United States from its list of countries allowed to travel, in part due to the COVID-19 cases, but also because of politically motivated reasons. The U.S. is continuing to ban visitors who have been within Europe within the past 14 days. So it's a political thing, apparently, but will this matter for Americans? Like, it's like we literally were just like allowed back into Europe. Everything was like, yay, Americans can go to Europe. And now it's kind of like, no, you can't. It's not official yet. It's just like an article I read that, basically each country can still set its own rules and nothing may change. So don't even know if that's really relevant. Maybe I shouldn't have put that as an aviation news to freak people out, but I saw it and I was just kind of like, man, like we just were allowed back in there. So whatever, just something to keep in mind. All right, we have tourists in France can now access their Health Pass program, which is the Health Pass is required for all restaurants, cafes, and bars and long distance transport starting from August 9th. And so the Health Pass program has been in effect for many cultural, entertainment, and leisure venues across France. It's basically somewhere where you like update if you've been vaccinated or not. I did see a video after I had like scripted this podcast about, I think it was like in Italy, of people like protesting this type of program or whatever. People like, so there's people everywhere that, are against vaccinations and against whatever. And, so it's just like really interesting to see all this develop. That's pretty much all I have for aviation news. I will be right back. All right, you guys, that wraps up episode 11 on August 11th. All this 111 energy. I hope that you are having an amazing week so far. As I mentioned earlier, I hope you're enjoying the show. I am looking forward to coming up with some new episodes for you all. Don't know about next week yet. Like I said, I just feel like so swamped as far as keeping up with everything, flying all day, flying these long, long days. And then, being at home, having home responsibilities like my puppy and mowing my lawn and just like regular adult things. Like, there's a lot more things I feel like I deal with at home compared to some other content creators out there. And I just think that it's a lot. It is a lot. And like, I can't remember the last time I relaxed. Like, I just want to go get like a fucking pedicure. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like this is like the most I've relaxed in the longest time. So thank you so much for listening. I really, truly appreciate all of you that take the time to listen to this podcast and support any content that I put out there. I like from the bottom of my heart, really appreciate it. And I love you guys. And I'll see you in next week's episode, or if I decide to do bi-weekly, I will see you in 2 weeks, whatever it may be. It will be on Wednesday for sure. I will see you then. Bye.